Welcome back to the Fantasy Facts Machine. After an exciting week 1 of Sunday football, we're heading into the Monday night football game right now with the Seattle Seahawks currently holding first place in the NFC West. I'm here with George, the Truth Factory Fuchs, and we are going to go over the surprises from yesterday, the disappointments, and some players that you might not realize can help you solve some of those disappointments. So first, let's go over the disappointing players. Thursday night brought us 2 of those guys, Cam Akers and Allen Robinson.
Yeah, they were 2 of the more disappointing ones, I think, out of the whole slate. Akers carried the ball 3 times.
3 times. Trash.
Sean McVay was very squirrely in responding to questions about his usage. There was a pretty evident clip of him missing a block that got Stafford popped going around the interwebs, if you will.
From last season, by the way, which I felt is that the one you're talking about?
No, this one.
Okay, I saw one from last season. I was like, that's a little unfair.
But he said, he's just got to find a way to make himself useful on plays he's not touching the ball, and we'll see. Henderson got all the carries, got all the snaps. Considering Cam Akers was drafted in the 3rd and 4th round by most of the leagues, that's pretty damn disappointing to see to start the season off. And then Robinson, he played all the snaps, but he got 1 catch. It was Cooper Kupp and Cooper Kupp and Cooper.
I think something that was telling to me about Robinson, everybody had high hopes. You hear a lot of people saying he's one of the best route runners, this and that. OBJ last year came in and made a pretty immediate impact as their second receiver filling in for Robert Woods. So it's a little puzzling to me that Allen Robinson could not fill that same role.
Yeah, but again, it's week 1, so everything we're going to tell you here, everybody's going to overreact a little bit. Allen Robinson played all the snaps. He's going to get used to that offense. We're not saying that he's going to overtake Kupp by any means, but he should make life easier for Kupp. That's going to be very good for him. So I'm not, selling my Allen Robinson stock quite yet.
Yeah, I would say the Akers situation is a little bit more alarming.
More disconcerting for me.
Yeah, because the McVay said something along the lines of he has to make the most of every opportunity, which tells me he's not going to have that many opportunities.
It's concerning. People were 100% convinced, after he came back from the injury, he looked good again. This is his year to break out. Not the start you want to see from a guy you're drafting that high.
Yeah, exactly. Next, let's talk about Mike Williams on the Chargers, who I was watching. I have him on 2 of my teams. I kept looking for an update. I kept thinking he was injured because he wasn't getting any catches. I wasn't watching the game, and it just stayed at 0.
I think he finished the game with 1 catch, maybe 2. He played 90% of the snaps. He was definitely running his routes. Justin was finding a bunch of different targets. I don't know, 8 people caught the ball, it sounded like. Keenan Allen injured already. Williams is the doubt Allen's going to be available for Thursday. So Williams will definitely be the one in our lineups and in our hearts. Yeah. Hopefully he does a little more with the opportunity.
One thing that yesterday definitely reminded me of last year was, Williams had over 1,000 yards last year, but he had like 3 huge games. And he had a bunch of games where he didn't do anything. And I have to admit, I kind of forgot about that when I drafted him to 2 teams, and I was quickly reminded yesterday. So hopefully, if you have Williams and not Allen, this is an opportunity to see what Williams is made of.
He came on last year. He finally had that breakout campaign people have been expecting since he went into the league. Again, we're not selling our stock, just a little concerning seeing guys that have had these tendencies before to just not show up to do it so quickly in the season.
Right. One guy who I kind of want to bring up, who's one of your guys, is C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey. He did get a touchdown, but I was surprised at his usage and honestly his efficiency when he did get the ball.
Well, it's obviously Robbie Anderson's team. Everybody knows that now. So not really sure what we can
the Mayfield and Robbie show.
Yeah, that's C-Mac will get 6-7 touches a game. Maybe 8 or 9 if he's lucky. He'll be fine. They're getting him back in. He made it through week 1 healthy. Thank the Lord. I'm not worried about Foreman or Hubbard taking carries away from him. I'm a little worried about how bad Baker looked. But again, it's C-Mac. You get him the ball anywhere in space, he'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think he will be fine. I think it's just probably pretty disappointing for most people. When you compare him to Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor had a bit of a slow start, but
he finished strong.
He finished very strong. Then you got the other guys in the top 5. Justin Jefferson had a monster game. One thing that a lot of people were jumping on were either Mike Davis or Kenyan Drake on the Ravens.
Filling those Dobbins snaps while he's out.
Filling those Dobbins snaps for a team that in the last 5 years has been the best running offense. And Mike Davis, I believe, got 1 or 2 carries.
Sure.
And Kenyan Drake had 11 carries for 31 yards. Neither of them scored a touchdown. Lamar Jackson, didn't have his usual 90 yards rushing either, but he was the leading rusher. But that offense was definitely very different than it was last year.
And listen, Devin Duvernay is who we'll talk about a little later. I mean, the guy had, 4 targets. He had 4 catches, 2 touchdowns, made the most of it. Bateman caught a long touchdown pass. Andrews did his stuff. They'll be throwing it more this year, I guess. We'll see what happens when Dobbins is back. Dobbins is a completely different back than both these guys. His upside is just infinitely higher. If he's healthy, he's definitely going to be a big part of that offense. I'm not picking up any Drake or Davis stock by any means.
Yeah, the Ravens looked good. So let's talk about some solutions for these guys that were very disappointing, and probably other than McCaffrey, you're not going to start next week. Maybe Allen Robinson. Well, I guess Mike Williams you'll start, but let's talk about some solutions. Let's start with Duvernay. I mean,
again, he didn't get that many targets. He didn't, he played some snaps. He's a big play guy. Again, week 1, there's always that wide receiver that's like, who the hell is this guy? Look at his stat line. This is going to be great. You're going to pick him up, and then you're going to drop him 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Duvernay's probably a favorite to be that candidate. And if he's their number 3 receiver, that's great. And he gets his playing time. He does what he has to do. But, not super sold on him quite yet. And again, they also played the Jets, who are going to be terrifying.
That's true.
Bad, as always. So.
That's true. And then also the aforementioned Robbie Anderson, who is known to have some very long receptions. I mean, his stat line sticks out. He had 101 yards and a touchdown. But keep in mind that he did have a 75-yard touchdown, right? So
listen, if he's going to produce for you, that's usually how he's going to do it. DJ Moore played 100% of the snaps, I'm pretty sure. Had a very, very low-key fantasy game. DJ Moore is going to be the one there. That's never going to be the issue, wide receiver-wise. McCaffrey is going to do his stuff. Anderson did get 8 targets, which for a guy that scores long touchdowns, that's a lot of targets, And again, it's Baker with new receivers, whole new system for him. So give him a little bit of time to adjust and see how much usage Anderson gets. Again, I'm not rushing to pick him up, though.
Right. And one guy that really stuck out to me when I was, combing through stats was Curtis Samuel, he was a big name 2 years ago. I mean, he was getting a lot of he was getting a lot of rushes, he was getting a lot of passes, and then he kind of disappeared last year for most of the season.
And you know what? They finally used him in that role that they brought him in from Carolina. Last year he was injured the entire time, and this year Washington's going to use a ton of guys. They don't have Terry McLaurin obviously, but Gibson and Samuel were splitting a ton of time in the backfield. This is before Robinson even comes back. They can use Samuel in so many different ways, and almost like Taysom Hill was being used with the Saints.
Yeah.
Obviously very, very different players, but you can line.
He might be able to throw better than Taysom Hill.
Maybe it's a decent chance, but you can line him up anywhere in the field. He's explosive. He's a guy I'm pretty interested in. Again, I don't know how much I love the Washington football team, as a fantasy, kind of thing. I obviously prefer Gibson and McLaurin, but Samuel's an interesting pickup.
Yeah, Samuel yesterday, by the way, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 4 carries, 17 yards, and 1 touchdown. And when I checked Yahoo earlier today, he was 6% rostered. So he's most likely available. Yeah, he's most likely available in your league. Another interesting one was another guy with a new quarterback, Donovan People-Jones, who only had 9 fantasy points, but he had 11 targets.
Yeah, he's the 2 to Cooper, right? Again, it's Jacoby Brissett. He's not going to be throwing the ball a ton. Chubb is going to get all the rushes. I don't want to say I'm not excited about that.
He's a good flyer.
Yeah, just in case you really need a receiver, definitely look after him. But I'm not dropping anybody to pick him up.
Right. And then Corey Davis on the Jets, who seems to never go away. I mean, he's always on these teams with these young wide receivers that are catching the headlines. And he still led the team in targets yesterday, I believe. He had 9 targets and 7 receptions for 63 yards. No touchdowns. But, 9 targets for Corey Davis is pretty good, in my opinion.
The less Jets you have, the better.
This is also true.
Michael Carter,
holders
Elijah
of Brees Hall can attest to that.
Yes. Dynasty leagues go crazy, but Corey Davis feel very much the same as about the other couple guys. Samuel's the one out of all these guys that we mentioned is definitely the one that has weekly potential if he stays healthy for me.
Right, just based on the amount of touches. And, I mean, 4 carries, they're obviously trying to score some big plays with him. Absolutely. They have big plays designed for him. 2 quarterbacks we have also that I think kind of stuck out. Carson Wentz, who, I didn't expect him to have such a big game yesterday.
I mean, listen, you pick up Carson Wentz, you're going to have fun. I don't know how many points you're going to score, but you're going to have a fun sweat every single time.
He's possibly the new age Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's not far off. I mean, the beard's got a ways to grow, but Wentz is he's gonna spread the ball around. He had a couple massive completions. He led him on a big, comeback. They won the game because he opened up the field. You're guaranteed he's going to do something dumb at least a couple times.
Right. Yeah.
But his upside.
He's stolen the ball. He had 41 attempts, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and I believe 2 interceptions. But he's throwing the ball.
That's a hell of a fantasy.
They're not big on Gibson. I think Gibson only had like 10 or 13 carries.
But he had a ton of receptions. That's the thing. Gibson did finish with a good fantasy line because he had 7 receptions.
Right. Right. And then Marcus Mariota, only 9% rostered in Yahoo, ran the ball a ton, fumbled the ball a couple times, threw the ball. I feel like he's going to have a lot more chemistry with his receivers moving forward.
I really like the Atlanta offense. We've been preaching the Atlanta offense since we started Fantasy Facts Machine. I mean, Arthur Smith, second year there. They did very Atlanta-y things yesterday where they had every chance to win the game and should have won the game and didn't. But they have to start closing out some of those drives. They had Younghoe Koo had 19 points. So
I know
it's great for me as an owner of Younghoe Koo on one of my teams. But for that offense to thrive, they have to start closing some of these down. Cordero got a ton of touches. Mariota looked fine.
Yeah, if Cordero Patterson is by any chance available in your league, which he probably isn't, but pick him up.
Yeah,
he somehow got slept on a little bit in all the preseason.
People thought that last year was a once in a lifetime year.
He had a monster game.
He's still going. Yeah. Kyle Pitts disappointed a lot of people.
He did.
But again, week 1, we live with it.
Yep. So anybody else that you want to mention?
I mean, Dontrell Hilliard. I guess.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It has to be.
Yep.
Right. He
looks to be a great third down back when they use him.
Listen, he's not taking carries from Henry necessarily, but you put a guy in there that's getting that many touchdowns. 2 touchdowns every 5 touches or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, he might be one of those week 1 guys, but he was getting a lot of hype in the offseason. He's going to be the third down back. That team needs to find ways to score. That's not Derrick Henry. So
right. Yeah. No. He had 2 touchdowns, I believe, on 2 receptions. And
very efficient.
He's pretty electric, when he gets the ball. So he's a good guy to fill in on those bye weeks for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more you want to risk on him, but so that's it. Hopefully we gave you some solutions, and I'm sure your lineup ended up with a couple holes yesterday, as it did for the rest of us.
We hope you dodged Dak Prescott and Elijah Mitchell at least for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Najee Harris. But thanks for tuning in. We're going to get back to the Seahawks game, see if they can hold on to first place. This is George, the Truth Factory Fuchs. His Vikings looked pretty good yesterday. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's Fantasy Facts Machines. Peace.
Set up my squad, wake up and pray. Turn on the tube, don't believe what they say. Get out my way, I got sleepers to play. Shooting my shot and I seen who you waved. You waving the flag, I'm just chasing the bag. All my team special, we taking it back. Doing our dance while you blaming the draft. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts.